and final episode. We're going to wrap it on up and tie it together in a bow tie. So we are looking at, wow, the police combed through the evidence that was presented, which basically means there was nothing that was subpoenaed or investigated outside of what was provided to them at the hotel. Allegedly, could Joe have planted evidence? And because of Tanzanian laws on suicide, was Ashlee investigated instead of Joe? The timelines simply don't match, and the dots are not connecting. When does Joe find out about Ashlee's attempted suicide? When does Joe go to the hospital with a shared password? Who's actually text messaging from Ashlee's phone while she's en route to the hospital in the back of the paramedics unresponsive? I have shown conflicts of interest in the investigation from the start. Joe has way too much access to his own investigation. The Human Rights Association, or HRA, clearly states that foreign investigations are limited to the country's customs and beliefs. So in layman's terms, if the law says a suicide is illegal, will they approach it to look for evidence supporting that, or will they look for evidence to the contrary? Zanzibar's government and police are known to be corrupt. There's also high crime where people and citizens are advised to not be traveling alone after dark. Definitely not tourists, definitely not on the beach after dark. The country has a history of poor record keeping, corruption, and bribes. Are we seeing in real time how this can actually hurt an investigation? If Ashlee was taking Joe's Valium and drinking alcohol, did the medical examiner do any investigation and blood work on this to test to see if she OD'd from its toxic effects? And if so, in theory, wouldn't both the hotel and Joe share in liability for Ashlee's death, since this is a dry country, meaning you cannot buy alcohol? It is only provided to you at the hotel, and we know that the prescription Valiums were Joe's. Are there any subpoenaed records indicating which cell phone towers Ashlee's cell phone was pinging on after she was already discovered and en route to the hospital, some hour to an hour and a half away? On Joe's X account, he's promoting AI. Did he plant evidence in Ashlee's ChatGPT? Does it appear difficult for Joe to tell the truth? Let's dive into these questions and more as we wrap this up. Grab your popcorn, your drinks, and your notes. And let's wrap this up and review what really did happen to Ashlee Jenae. And let's talk about the lights being out. I had one of the most loveliest conversations with an Instagram user by the name of Marie Love, who I will be tagging in this part of the review. She pointed out that the biggest, quote, red flag for me is the light was off. The only time the light would have been turned off is if someone was leaving the room. Somebody about to take their life would not consider the electricity they're going to be wasting while they're taking their life. It makes absolutely no sense. My jaw drops. I didn't even think about that. I send 3 investigative emojis. She continues, right? Out of force of habit, I have, but you leave the room, you shut the lights out. That's the only reason that I would think that this was all too fishy for me. And the fact that she told them to come back in 15 minutes. And she did not want to be left alone longer than 15 minutes. She did not feel safe. Force of habit. Oh my freaking God. I literally said the same thing in my first series, guys. So I knew I was on to something. I knew I wasn't the only one getting the heebie-jeebies. Oh my God. This is so validating. I say, I think he was there showering and was supposed to be home by then. Damn phone. Followed up with gone by then. She goes on to say, for me, my heart started to race immediately because I felt like if that was me in that situation, I would have thought 15 minutes, come back this way. If anything is happening to me, somebody could come and save me. I'm still talking, but I reply back, exactly. Marie continues, yep, I would have done the same thing if I didn't feel safe. I would have done it. I even do it now. I'm like, if you don't hear from me in 15 minutes, check in with me to make sure I made it to my car whatever the case may be, because I'm a short person, so I really can't fight too many people up. But when I heard she said come back in 15 minutes, that was like a safety net for me. And I put me to several love emojis, followed up with a serious watery eye emoji, because I almost fainted. Without knowing this, woman to woman, we shared a bond, and it was the same. How do we create a system where we can rely on strangers to come and save us if we are in danger or fear of our lives? And that is what I believe Ashlee was going through. I immediately felt it when I heard the story, and my heart was drawn to her compassion. I continue, always try to have a separate way back, always. I'm laughing, but it ain't funny. You know why I'm laughing. She replied, yeah, I would really like to see her get justice. That white privilege is just too much sometimes, and it gets me so angry. I love the comment. She continues, it's like because he's white, it can't be him. Fuck. That was 100% him, and wouldn't think it was anything or anyone else. I thumbs up the comment. Of course, I go on to ask for permission to be able to include this in our conversation, and it was granted. I thanked her, and she thanked me. She said, I'm glad someone is advocating for this. And of course, I love the comment. So now let's talk about this missing time. Let's factor in the lights being off. Doesn't it make more sense for Joe to have walked back to the room, picked the fight with Ashlee? The hotel staff arrive, offer the new room, but it's not ready, of course, because it's at the end of the day. He stays behind to shower because the room isn't ready, goes to the bathroom. Ashlee asks for the charger and gets it, asks for the 15-minute return, creating what she thinks is a safety net for herself. Joe exits the shower, allegedly strangles her and thinks he kills her, allegedly. Then he stages her body to look like a suicide, makes the 6 phone calls to her knowing she can't pick up, and that is from 8:29 p.m. to 8:33 p.m. Out of habit, Joe shuts the lights off, locks the door, and leaves the room. At approximately 8:55 p.m., the hotel staff returns, finds Ashlee unresponsive. Joe is not present, and they rush her off to the hospital. This timeline seemingly fits really well. Did Joe take her phone after he left, or have access to the room with her phone to allegedly use it after she went to the hospital? When was Joe told about Ashlee's condition? When did Joe arrive to the hospital? I mean, even TMZ says, quote, Ashlee allegedly asked ChatGPT before her death, how much Valium would kill me? End of quote. The key word is allegedly. And remember, TMZ is one of the journalists Joe disparagingly spoke of when they reported that the family didn't receive Ashlee's engagement ring back with her belongings. Or was Joe just bitching about his luggage that they kept? The engagement ring, the lost luggage, tit for tat. The family's grieving over a loved one. You're worried about some funky lost ass luggage. And also her engagement ring that's supposedly worth a lot is still missing. No, we know you got it, allegedly. So whether this was by a chemically induced suicide or by overdosing or by the hands of one Joe McCann, allegedly, simple facts remain. Timeline doesn't jive. The Valium belonged to Joe, and in that case, just like Matthew Perry's supplier, who was convicted of his death, wouldn't Joe get convicted of Ashlee's death if she died as a result of taking the Valium? And quite frankly, I'll believe in pill-popping, abusive, evil-looking ass Joe's tales of events as much as I believe in crooked, cross-eyed, drunk-ass Cash Patel thoroughly investigating any case, especially this case, like he does a bottle of booze. Another thought, too, if she OD'd from Joe's Valium and also with the combination of the alcohol that the hotel supplied, then by default, both Joe and the hotel would be liable for her death. So wouldn't it also be in their best interest to make sure it looks like she killed herself? Who's not to say that that engagement ring wasn't payment for this to all go away and to be blamed onto Ashlee? Because again, suicides in Zanzibar are treated as a crime. So they're off top investigating her and not investigating Joe. When if they were in the United States, and in theory, because we know how the states are a little shady as well, but if they were here, automatically Joe would be investigated and not Ashlee. So the shoes are literally on the opposite feet, and we know what happened. It was a rushed decision to conclude that it was a suicide. The family even felt that the investigation was rushed, and from that point forward, it just went dead silent. We have nothing. Why isn't Joe's access to her phones considered a conflict of interest? Couldn't Joe have asked ChatGPT any of the questions, especially the ones about Valium or suicide? Was it two lovers popping pills and partying during the best times of their life? Could that explain why Ashlee asked ChatGPT how much Valium would kill me because she was new to the drug and wanted to ensure her safety? Again, the Valium was prescribed to Joe, not her. Wouldn't pill popping explain his stomach issues and be proof of long-term use and explain behaviors that he was projecting onto her as ones he actually possessed? Wouldn't Joe getting access to his bags and medication, then a long car ride, help explain his sudden recovery on the way to the hospital? Couldn't he have faked falling out? Or was this flat out murder? Yolanda and Harry never in text or interviews stated that Ashlee was suicidal. Only Joe repeatedly made these assertions. Could he allegedly be covering up his nefarious acts by saying that she was suicidal? When he pointed out her difficult childhood, I don't see any of that displayed in the information shared. And oddly, an online search, like I said, only lists his parents' names. There's no other information available on them, how or when they died. Could this active erasure of his parents' history, could this be the upbringing that he was trying to hide and run from that was projected onto Ashlee? Wouldn't the actions of a person involved with the death of another be to help the authorities as much as possible to potentially throw off suspicion from them? Why was there a performance for the police and absolutely no calls for the family after the last one to Yolanda? Why do people think that Yolanda leaving Joe on red is a big deal when they believe this man's assertions and accusations about Ashlee are false? Why would they talk to him, especially after the behavior that he displayed? Why does the U.S. Embassy Dar es Salaam report that the two items marked with the green dots were returned to Joe, and the remaining items were included in the shipment to her family? So Joe has access and was told to go through all of their belongings. Why is this difficult to state where the engagement ring is? Did you get the ring out of the bag before handing everything over? Are you alluding that the ring was stolen? Or that the Robinson family has it? A ring box is not big, palm size actually. Couldn't Joe have allegedly grabbed and pocketed
the ring during the theatrical fallout over smelling Ashlee's belongings. There's so many loose ends and questions that were highlighted by doing this timeline and putting together both the interview with TMZ and the Instagram page that Joe has put together. Let me know what you guys think below. Is this suicide? Is this a drug-fueled bent weekend where two lovers were partying and having a blast and only one returned? Or is this flat-out murder? There's other possibilities too. What if someone else hurt Ashlee and it wasn't Joe? There's a lot. I mean, what if someone was paid to hurt her? Who knows at this point? But she's not here to talk for herself. And I don't believe that this is wrapped up and is need of a bow as it was thought to have been presented. Because, I'm not a journalist, but I was able to create this document with footnotes, references, and I'm presenting it to you guys. So please let me know what you guys think. And don't forget, remember to like, subscribe, and share. As always, Justice for Ashlee Jenae Robinson